All right, we're back. In addition to this video, we've come up with an excellent community and relocation guide that I'm going to link in the description below. It's on our community website, livinginwinstonsalem.com, but you don't even need an email address to download it. It's got some really good information about the city, suburbs, and all sorts of information about living here. Now, not only have I relocated here myself with my two sons from the suburbs of Chicago, but as the #1 relocation agent in the area, in the top 3% of all agents, I've helped hundreds of people move here from all over the country and even around the globe. In doing that, I found there are 3 keys to reduce the stress in what can be an obvious stressful process. I mean, moving itself is stressful, but if you're coming here from another state, I know that can be really stressful. So the first key is knowing and understanding the market conditions right now. I'm going to make sure that you're updated on that throughout the process. And speaking of the process, that's the next thing to reduce stress, is to really understand the process. And I found when you know the process and you know what's coming up next, it greatly reduces stress because you know what's in front of you. So throughout this process, we're going to constantly communicate not only about the step that we're on, but what's coming up next. We're going to remind you of that, and it just really helps things go smoother. And the last one is really no pressure. I will never push you into buying a house or making a decision on the house if you're not ready to. I always tell people I have to sell real estate today, tomorrow, next month, and probably for the next 10 years. And I know that's a big concern, and probably rightly so, with consumers about an agent pushing them into a house. I will promise never to do that to you. And if you want help buying or selling here, my contact information is on the screen. It's also in the description below. But the first step in this, and this is probably why you're here right now on YouTube watching this, is you're going to research areas. And when you're looking for somewhere to move with you or you and your family or whoever that might be, picking the right area is going to be really important. And the actual house really doesn't even matter yet. Really, the first thing we want to do is research the area. Winston-Salem, just within a 20-mile radius, gives all types of different living scenarios. So if you look in a 20-mile radius, we call this entire area Winston-Salem, and that includes the suburbs and small towns outside of Winston-Salem as well. To the north, you have King and Rural Hall. To the south, you have, all the way down to Lexington, and South Winston is within a 20-mile radius. In the west, you have Moxville, Yadkinville, and in the east, all the way almost out to Oak Ridge, includes Kernersville and things like that, all part of the Winston-Salem area. And I have tons of videos on this channel, going over suburbs, neighborhoods, and things like that. On Living in Winston-Salem, we have neighborhood guides, suburb guides, and everything like that. So the initial part is your research. And once you get a general idea, the best thing really to hone that in is to just really schedule a call. And we can do that on the telephone or Zoom. And really the key to this, especially if you're early in the process, is to really help you prioritize, your top priorities. Whether you're, have a family or you're single or you're retiring, whatever your different case may be, different areas are going to appeal to different people. Winston-Salem, like I said, just within 20 miles, you have dense urban feeling. You have, outside the city, kind of more suburban feeling. You have suburban, you have rural. There's a huge variety of places to live here in, this relatively small geographical area. So we're going to be on this call. We're really going to help prioritize some of these areas so that way we can just really hone in on your individual situation. And when we're talking about priorities, let's think of it like a pie. Not that pie, this pie. So priorities, this is the entire pie of your priorities, and there are 4 pieces to this pie. They are size, price, condition, and location. All 4 of these priorities are just in this pie. And since this pie is all there is, your priorities are not going to just be 25, 25, 25, right? You're going to have to really prioritize something over another thing. For instance, if you have 5 or 6 kids, size of the home is probably going to take priority over some of the other things. Because, 4+ bedrooms is an absolute must-have. Or if you really want to be in a specific neighborhood, Sherwood Forest or something like that, then location is going to take up a little bit more of that priority pie. And so that means we're going to have to take some of that space from other areas, right? So you might have some things that you're going to have to compromise on when we're talking through these 4 different priorities. And remember, during this, there's no pressure for me. We're just going to be talking about your wants, your needs, your very specific situation. And what I've found when I'm talking to people about this, it really helps narrow their focus, which is important because it is a large geographical area. Focusing and narrowing those areas just, to 1, 2, 3 areas, something like that, really will help reduce some stress and really help you hone in on more specific houses. Remember, we're not looking at actual houses yet. We're really just trying to whittle down the area based on your priorities. And I know in these videos I can talk a little fast, but really on this call, it's all about you. We're going to take as much time as you need to talk through these different areas. If it's 30 minutes or 90 minutes, whatever you need, we're going to put that aside to really talk through this for you so you can really get a clear picture of where in Winston-Salem you want to live. On this call, we're also going to cover the purchase process here in North Carolina because remember, it is different than most states. With North Carolina being a caveat emptor or buyer beware state, there are some things that just don't apply here that do in most other states. specifically, the due diligence process and fees, and then contingencies and contracts. You have to sell a house or make sure the appraisal or inspection reveals, the right information. Doesn't happen in North Carolina. So we're going to really spend some time and talk through some of that, and then go over the systems that I have in place to really help get through this process smoothly. If you want to take a quick look at that, this is what it looks like on the screen right now, but also on my real estate website, govalentino.com. If you go to buyers and then there's a click here, you can see a little bit more detail in the process, but we're going to talk through this on this phone or Zoom call. And remember, one of the keys to reducing stress is really understanding the process. So not only do you have it, in written form on the website that you can refer back to and on this graphic, but we're going to talk through it all and make sure you understand each part of the process. If you have any questions on specific parts, which almost everyone does, you're really going to make sure you have those answered and feel comfortable moving forward. So now when you've really honed in on your criteria and the 4 pieces of the priority pie, we've got the general locations, even if it doesn't have to be these one specific, it's only going to be, West Salem neighborhood. It's going to be, 2 or 3 top spots and things like that. We're going to set up a tailored search that's just really specifically for you. So now what you're going to get delivered to your email is a direct feed from the MLS about these specific homes in that price, matching all 4 of those pieces of that priority pie. You're going to get them in your email, and now you can really start saying, okay, this is the area. What do the houses look like in that area? Do I need to readjust some of those priorities, or are these matching my expectations, wants, and needs? And bonus points, if you want to go back when you know those areas now and look on your favorite app and you want to see recently homes sold, you can see in your area at the price and the house that's sold and see if that kind of matches your expectations as well. And if you've never been to Winston-Salem after this point, and you're moving here and things like that, but now after this point is a good time to make a visit so you can really start to get into some of these areas and see if the lifestyle match is what you expected as well. Does the commute to work make sense? Does the distance to Trader Joe's or to your favorite park or the kids' school, whatever you're into, just to really start to make sure that area makes sense? And I made videos about a weekend in Winston-Salem and exploring Winston-Salem, different things to do if you're just coming in here for a visit. But now what we're starting to do, you see, we're just really starting to put all those pieces together. We're getting areas, price range, condition, location. So we're having all those things together. And now you're seeing homes for sale. And does that still work for you? And now we can really, once we're done with that part, we can really start to go out and take a look at homes. And let me give you some guidelines, just typical what I see and just helping people do this of how long it takes, just so you can kind of get your expectations together. I guess total time to really from start to shopping to find a house, typically 2 to 4 weeks. Sometimes it can be a little bit longer depending on inventory. If you've been looking, inventory's been a little light here. But really set your expectations on the actual home search taken 2 to 4 weeks. It's not, it's really rare when first house, like it, buy it, it's the right one. That's very rare. So just know that if it takes 2 to 4 weeks, if you're 2 weeks in and you haven't found anything, you're not really, you don't have to stress, because remember, the process and you understand what's coming up next. Another thing to know on that is not only 2 to 4 week time frame, but really it's about 4 to 7 different showings before we find the right house typically. And the reason why we did all that work up front to really, get your priorities in order so you're seeing houses that really match your expectations. We eliminate as many as we can online. So really we're spending our time, because homes here still can go a little bit quickly. I was just this weekend in 2 houses with multiple offer situations, even in what is traditionally a little bit slower time in real estate. So really eliminating everything we can online just really gives you a little bit of an advantage. So remember, 2 to 4 weeks, 4 to 7 showings before we find the right one. If we start to see 10 to 12 to 15 houses and we haven't found the right one, we probably need to look at adjusting your criteria, like where are we missing the mark on these? Are they in, the wrong location or wrong condition and things like that? We'll make some adjustments, but just know 2 to 4 weeks, 4 to 7 showings is pretty typical. And these showings we can do in person or virtual. We're not doing as much virtual showings as we did a few years ago, but still it's almost probably, 25, 30% of the time are still people doing showings virtually. And on virtual showings, I really do try to pick the house apart. I really try to go over every little detail and really tell you, almost more than I would, almost reasons not to buy the house than reasons why you should. I just really want to look out for big deal breakers on virtual showings. If the neighbor has a really loud dog, or their cars are parked all in the front yard, or there's a weird smell in the house, or it backs up to power lines, things that you might not just think about, I'm really going to try to point out on virtual showings. And don't feel pressure to do the virtual showing. One advantage of virtual showings, though, especially if you're coming out of state, is, we can react quicker to what's coming on the market right now. If a house you really love, it really meets all that criteria really well, we can act really quick when it comes on the market, versus if you just plan a trip, 6 weeks from now, we're just a little bit at the mercy of the market. After that, we'll make our offer, negotiate, which is really my strong suit, is negotiations, really getting you the best deal and terms on the house that you want. But now you've got your offer accepted and you're under contract. Congratulations. And I would tell you, searching for homes and looking at houses is the fun part. It's the simple part. But once we're under contract, this is really where the work begins. It really is from the contract to close portion is where the bulk of my work comes in. You got your whole due diligence process that we're going to talk through. And this is really where the team really starts to get important. Inspectors, insurance, lenders, all the stuff like that. I have recommendations on all of these if you'd like, or if I can help you vet people that you want to work with, totally up to you. But just know during this process and our due diligence process, your team is really, really important. Throughout the whole process, this first part of the process, 95% of your communication is just going to be directly with me. Once we get under contract, that's where some members of my team come into place to really help you keep things coordinated, whether it's your move from your current house or utilities and all those good things like that. We have you every single step of the way. Then really we're looking at the timing of your move. Are you going to close here first and then move in? Are you going to move in the day of close? Whatever the timing of your move is, we're going to be discussing that during this period. Obviously we'll have talked about it before as well, but really help you hone in on some of those milestones that you need to hit. Have you called the movers? When do you set up utilities? All those good things like that. We're going to make sure you understand those again throughout the entire process, but really we'll make sure we have those tied in so that way on closing day, get your keys, everyone's happy. If you're thinking about moving to the Winston-Salem area, I'd love to be a resource for you. You can reach out to me directly at jeff@govalentino.com. Thanks.